The misdirected signal. The distress beacon launched into the void at exactly 0347 Standard Galactic Time. Dr. Venla watched the transmission indicator pulse green on his console, relief washing over his exhausted features. The message was away. Help would come. It had to come. Behind him, the research outpost shuddered as another explosion rocked the northern perimeter. Emergency lighting bathed the command center in crimson shadows while alarms screamed warnings that everyone already knew. They were under attack. They were losing. And they were running out of time. The fatal error. Venla was a scientist, not a communications officer. He specialized in atmospheric composition and planetary geology, not quantum signal arrays. But communications officer Thelvas was dead, killed in the first wave when the machines tore through the eastern habdomes. So it fell to Venla to send the call for help. His six-fingered hands had trembled as he entered the coordinates for Velkara Prime, their homeworld, 89 light-years away. But the quantum relay system would deliver the message instantly. At least it should have. What Venla didn't know, couldn't have known, was that the relay antenna had been damaged in the attack. A microscopic fracture in the transmission crystal, a deviation of 0.03 degrees in the signal path. Such a small error. Such enormous consequences. The distress signal didn't go to Velkara Prime. It went somewhere else entirely. It went to Earth. A Tuesday morning in New Mexico. Dr. James Rodriguez was drinking his third coffee of the morning when the anomaly appeared. The Arecibo successor array had been operational for 2 years, scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life with instruments that made the old SETI equipment look like children's toys. James had been on the night shift for 6 months. 6 months of silence. 6 months of cosmic background radiation, pulsar echoes, and the occasional false alarm from a malfunctioning satellite. He was beginning to think the search was pointless. Then, the screen lit up. Not with random noise, not with natural phenomena, with structure, with meaning, with desperation. James sat up so fast he spilled coffee across his keyboard. His colleague, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, looked up from her station across the darkened observation room. The pattern repeated. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, binary code layered with something more complex, something that made James's skin prickle with electricity. This wasn't human. This couldn't be human. Yuki? He said, his voice barely above a whisper. I think we just made first contact. The signal decoded. Within 90 minutes, the world's best cryptographers, linguists, and xenobiologists were connected via secure channels. The signal was sophisticated beyond anything Earth had encountered. It used principles of quantum entanglement that human scientists were only beginning to understand, but embedded within the alien mathematics were universal concepts: danger, location, urgency, help. Dr. Sarah Kim at MIT cracked the coordinate system first. The signal originated from a star system 89 light-years away, cataloged as HD 219134, a K-type main sequence star with multiple confirmed exoplanets. NASA had been monitoring the system for 15 years. One of the planets, designated HD 219134F, sat squarely in the habitable zone. They called it Theta 7. The signal is a distress call, Sarah announced to the assembled team via video conference. Her face was pale but determined. I've isolated what appears to be a countdown. They have 72 hours before something catastrophic happens. She paused. The transmission includes tactical data. Whoever is sending this is under attack. The room fell silent. 72 hours. 89 light-years away. Impossible distance. Impossible timeline. The impossible decision. The emergency session of the United Nations Security Council lasted 17 hours. The chamber was chaos. Ambassadors shouted in a dozen languages. Translators struggled to keep up. The question before them was unprecedented. should humanity respond to an alien distress call from a civilization they'd never met, risking everything on experimental technology that had never been tested beyond Mars? "This is madness," declared Ambassador Chen of China. "We don't even know if our ships can reach them. The Alcubierre variant drives are theoretical at best." Admiral Rebecca Hayes of the newly formed United Earth Space Command stood. She was a veteran of 3 decades of military service, her gray hair pulled back in a severe bun, her eyes sharp as broken glass. "The drives work," she said. "We've run simulations for 2 years. We can reach 0.85 light speed with time dilation effects that would get a crew there in 6 weeks subjective time." 6 weeks for them, Ambassador Okongwo pointed out. "But how many years will pass on Earth?" 14 months, Hayes answered. "The crew would return to an Earth 14 months older." "That's the cost?" "The cost of what?" demanded Ambassador Volkov of Russia. "This isn't our fight. We don't know these aliens. We don't know their enemies. We could be walking into a war that ends humanity." Captain Maria Santos had been sitting quietly in the observer section. She rose now, her Brazilian accent carrying clearly through the chamber. "With respect, Ambassador, that's exactly why we have to go." Every eye turned to her. At 42, Santos was the youngest captain in UESC history. She'd commanded the Mars Orbital Defense Grid, led 3 deep space survey missions, and held degrees in astrophysics and tactical operations. More importantly, she was the designated commander of the Horizon's Edge, Earth's first true starship. Someone sent a message into the darkness. They're dying. They're desperate. And somehow, impossibly, their call reached us. If we ignore it, if we decide it's not our problem, what does that say about humanity? What does that say about who we are? The vote. The debate raged for another 6 hours. Finally, at 0342 GMT, the Secretary General called for a vote. The question? Authorized the launch of the Horizon's Edge as a humanitarian rescue mission to Theta 7. Not every hand rose, not even a majority, but enough voices saying that humanity would answer the call. Preparation and launch. The Horizon's Edge had been built in lunar orbit over 3 years. She was massive, a 1-kilometer-long vessel that combined human engineering with bleeding-edge physics. Her Alcubierre variant drive could theoretically fold space, allowing faster-than-light travel without violating relativity. Theoretically. It had never been tested beyond the asteroid belt. Captain Santos stood in the boarding bay watching her crew assemble. 150 volunteers, scientists that left their families, soldiers who'd never faced an alien enemy, engineers who had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. They knew the risks. They came anyway. Dr. Marcus Webb, the chief science officer, approached her. He was nervous, his hands fidgeting with his tablet. "Captain, we're loading the last of the supplies. Medical equipment, construction materials, weapons we hope we won't need." "Hope is good," Santos replied. "Preparation is better." The launch was broadcast worldwide. Billions watched as the Horizon's Edge detached from Luna Station, her engines burning blue-white in the darkness. Santos sat in the command chair surrounded by holographic displays and the quiet efficiency of her bridge crew. "All stations report ready," said Commander Hassan Al-Rahan, her executive officer. Santos took a breath. Engage the drive. Space twisted. Reality folded. The stars stretched into lines of impossible light, and the Horizon's Edge vanished from the solar system, racing toward a world 89 light-years away, carrying humanity's answer to a call they were never meant to receive. 6 weeks later. The transition back to normal space was violent. Alarms shrieked as the ship shuddered, reality reasserting itself with vengeance. Santos gripped her chair as the view screen stabilized, showing a new star system. Theta 7 hung before them, a blue-green world wrapped in clouds. Beautiful. And surrounded by debris. "Scan for life signs," Santos ordered. Lieutenant Park's fingers flew across her console. "Captain,
I'm reading a structure on the surface, looks like a research outpost. Power signatures are weak but present, and, Captain, I'm detecting automated weapons platforms in orbit. They're not Valkyrie design. Emergency baiting, Santos commanded. Let's find out who we're dealing with. On the surface of Theta 7, Dr. Venla stared at his console in disbelief. The sensors showed a ship, a massive ship, entering orbit. But it wasn't Valkyrie. The design was completely unknown. His communication array crackled to life. A voice spoke, heavily accented but clear, using mathematical sequences the outpost's computer could translate. This is Captain Maria Santos of the Earth starship Horizon's Edge. We received your distress call. We're here to help. Venla's legs gave out. He collapsed into his chair, staring at the screen. Earth? He'd never heard of Earth. The signal was supposed to go to Velcara Prime. This made no sense. None of it made sense. But as another explosion rocked the outpost, as the ancient machine...
The unexpected saviors. The command center of the Valkyrie outpost was a disaster. Shattered equipment sparked against walls scorched black from plasma fire. Emergency force fields flickered, barely holding back the toxic atmosphere that had flooded 3 sections already. Dr. Venla stood before the communication console, his violet-hued skin pale with exhaustion and shock, staring at the translated message from the impossible ship in orbit. Earth. The beings called themselves humans. He had never heard of either. First contact under fire. Captain Santos studied the tactical display with growing concern. The weapons platforms orbiting Theta 7 were unlike anything in Earth's databases. Ancient, but still functional. Their design suggested they were automated defense systems, perhaps millennia old, and they were systematically destroying the research outpost below. Lieutenant Park's voice cut through her thoughts. Captain, I'm getting a response from the surface, audio and visual. The main screen flickered. A face appeared. Not human, but startlingly similar in its basic structure. 2 eyes, though larger and set wider apart, a mouth, a nose, skin that shifted between violet and blue in the emergency lighting. The aliens spoke, and the ship's translation algorithms worked frantically to convert the sounds into meaning. I am Dr. Venla of the Valkyrie Research Collective. You say you received our distress call, but that is impossible. We sent no signal to Earth. We do not know Earth. Santos leaned forward. Dr. Venla, we received a quantum-encoded distress signal 3 Earth weeks ago. It contained your coordinates and indicated you were under attack. We came as fast as we could. She paused, watching the alien expression shift through what might have been confusion, disbelief, and desperate hope. Where did you send your signal? To Velcara Prime, our home world, 89 light-years in the opposite direction. Venla's voice cracked. The relay antenna was damaged. The signal must have been misdirected. This should not be possible. Commander Al-Rahman spoke quietly. Captain, if their signal went to us instead of their own people, their home world doesn't know they're in trouble. Santos nodded grimly. Dr. Venla, how many survivors do you have, and what exactly are we dealing with? The ancient enemy. Venla brought up holographic displays, and the bridge crew of the Horizon's Edge watched as the tactical situation unfolded before them. The Valkyrie had established a research outpost on Theta 7 6 months ago. 53 scientists studying the planet's unusual magnetic fields and ancient geological formations. They had discovered something buried beneath the northern continent. Structures, technology, remnants of a civilization that had died out millions of years before. We thought they were inactive, Venla explained, his exhaustion evident. Just archaeological ruins. But when we attempted to access the central complex, we triggered something. Defense protocols from a species long extinct. The display showed mechanical entities emerging from underground facilities. They were sectorial in design, each one roughly 3 meters tall, constructed from some kind of self-repairing alloy. Their weapons fired concentrated particle beams that could slice through Valkyrie shields like paper. We call them Sentinels, Venla continued. They have destroyed 60% of our outpost. 31 of my colleagues are dead. The remaining 22 of us are trapped in this command center. Our defenses will fail within 8 hours. We have no weapons capable of stopping them. Dr. Webb studied the data streaming from the outpost. Captain, these machines operate on a hierarchical network. There's a central control node somewhere, probably in that underground complex. If we could disable it, we'd shut down the entire defense grid. Santos finished. She turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant Park, analysis. Park manipulated the holographic display running combat simulations. The Sentinels are formidable, but they're programmed for a specific threat profile. They expect energy weapons, shields, standard military tactics. Their response patterns are predictable. She looked up, a slight smile on her face. They've never fought humans before. Human ingenuity. Santos called a strategy session in the briefing room. Her senior staff gathered around the holo table studying the tactical situation. The Sentinels numbered approximately 200, concentrated around the outpost, with another 300 underground. The Valkyrie survivors were cornered, their shields failing. Conventional assault would be suicide. We don't have time for conventional, Santos said. We need to think like humans. What do we have that they won't expect? Chief Engineer Lisa Morgan spoke up, her Scottish accent thick with excitement. Captain, these machines are millions of years old. Their programming is sophisticated but rigid. They respond to energy signatures, heat patterns, electromagnetic emissions, but they might not recognize more primitive technology. Primitive? Commander Al Rockman raised an eyebrow. Kinetic weapons, Morgan explained. Bullets, explosives, chemical propellants. We brought them for potential ground operations, but the Sentinels might not have protocols for defending against ballistic attacks. Dr. Webb added, their armor is designed to disperse energy, but kinetic impacts, that's different physics. And their sensors are calibrated for advanced civilizations. We could use low-tech diversions, mechanical traps, guerrilla tactics. Santos felt a smile forming. We're going to fight a war with millions-years-old robots using techniques from Earth's 20th century? Aye, Captain, Morgan grinned. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The descent. 3 dropships launched from the horizon's edge, carrying 90 Marines and specialists. The remaining crew maintained orbit, ready to provide support. Captain Santos led the first ship herself, despite Al Rockman's protests. She stood in the drop bay, magnetic boots locked to the deck, surrounded by men and women in combat armor checking weapons that would have looked familiar to soldiers a century ago. Sergeant David Okafor, a veteran of the Mars Colonial Defense Force, briefed his squad. Remember, these things are fast and they're deadly, but they're predictable. They'll target the biggest threat first. That's where we use misdirection. He held up a device that looked like a flare gun. Magnesium flares burn hot enough to blind their sensors. Smoke grenades will confuse their targeting. And these, he patted the assault rifle on his back, will punch through their armor when energy weapons can't. The dropships hit atmosphere hard, shaking violently as Theta 7's gravity pulled them down. Santos watched through the viewport as the surface rushed up to meet them. The outpost was visible now, a cluster of domed structures surrounded by scorched earth and twisted metal. The Sentinels moved through the destruction like metallic predators, their particle beams carving through the last Valkyrie defenses. 30 seconds to touchdown, the pilot announced. Santos activated the squad channel. All teams remember the plan. We're not here to win a conventional fight. We're here to buy time and create chaos. Make them think they're facing an army, not 90 humans with attitude problems. Nervous laughter rippled through the channel. The dropship's engines roared, and they hit the ground. The battle. The rear ramp dropped, and Santos charged out into hell. Particle beams seared the air above her head. A sentinel turned towards their position, its multiple optical sensors focusing with mechanical precision. Sergeant Okafor fired first. The assault rifle roared, sending armor-piercing rounds directly into the machine's central processing unit. The sentinel staggered. Its self-repair systems began working, but not fast enough.
A second burst, and it collapsed. "Spread out," Santos ordered. "Teams Alpha and Bravo flank left. Teams Charlie and Delta establish a perimeter around the command center. Echo Team, you're with me. We're going underground." The battlefield became chaos. Human soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, using terrain and cover in ways the Sentinels didn't anticipate. Smoke grenades created blind zones, magnesium flares overloaded sensors, and kinetic weapons, dismissed as primitive by most advanced civilizations, proved devastatingly effective against armor designed to disperse energy. Dr. Webb and a team of engineers fought their way to the underground entrance. The Sentinels guarded it heavily, but they couldn't adapt quickly enough to the unpredictable human tactics. Webb placed shaped charges around the entrance seals, while Marines provided covering fire. "Fire in the hole!" The explosion ripped through the ancient doors, revealing a descending tunnel lined with alien technology that still pulsed with power after millions of years. Into the heart. Santos led Echo Team into the depths. The tunnel was dark except for bioluminescent panels that flickered with alien symbols. The air smelled of ozone and something else, something old and metallic. They moved quickly, weapons ready, expecting resistance at every corner. The central control node was 300 meters down, according to the scans. 300 meters into the heart of a dead civilization's last defense. Sentinels emerged from alcoves in the walls. The tunnel became a killing ground. Marine Corporal Aisha Thompson took a particle beam to the shoulder, her armor absorbing most of the impact, but leaving her arm useless. She kept firing one-handed, her rifle stitching rounds across the Sentinel's chassis until it went down. "Keep moving!" Santos shouted. They couldn't get bogged down. Every second they delayed, more Sentinels would activate. The control chamber was vast.